Gentlemen, we are almost there. Stephen A. is going to announce the winner of the First Take Your contest a little later in the show.
I have viewed many of them. They have sent in thousands. We thank you for sending in your videos.
Everyone.
But damn it, there can only be two winners. One man, one woman. And I watched them closely, and I agree with the assessment of my staff on who we have picked to be the winner. I will announce this at the end of the show.
Feeling good about it. Survival of the fittest, right? That's what it takes to be up here with these two.
Presentation, substance.
These two sharks.
Little innovativeness. We got to judge it. We got to judge it.
All right.
It is what it is.
Speaking of debate, let's get into it. Big Blue with a big jump. The Giants climbed up ESPN's power rankings this week, moving up from number 6 from number 16 in last week's. The G-men are on a 5-game win streak and sit at 7-3 overall. So let's take a peek at the rest of the top 10. The Cowboys remain at number 1 for the second straight week, followed by the Seahawks, Patriots, Raiders, and Broncos. The Raiders also moved up. Is number 6 too high, too low, or just right for the Giants?
I was prepared this morning to come on and say, actually, I'm the Giants fan. You're expecting me to say at least just right. But in fact, they're overrated.
Oh.
And then I actually looked at the teams that they're rated ahead of. The problem is not that they're overrated now. The problem is they were underrated throughout most of this season.
Okay.
I mean, because I don't see how you go from 16 to 6 by the win over the Bears that, came down to the wire, essentially. That brings you from 16 to 6. That's essentially the panel that decides, admitting that they'd made a mistake rating the Giants where they did in the first place. Here's the thing. The teams that are ahead of them, yes.
Wait, time out. So you're saying they're just right?
I'm saying they're just right.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to be
6.
clear.
You could argue anywhere from 6 to about 12. Okay. They're in that range. 6 is the high end of where you might put them. 12 is like the low end. Are they better than the Chiefs or the Falcons? That's debatable. Washington, these are the teams that they're right ahead of. The Lions, they're all around the same. The Vikings are down at 12, and the Vikings, at least at one point in this season, looked elite. None of these other teams I just mentioned have looked elite at any point in the season, not even the Falcons or the Chiefs. But the Giants are in that range, Stephen A. The defensive signings they made are showing up in these close games. Olivier Vernon, Janoris Jenkins, and even, early in the season, you go, their front four is really good. Their corners are really good, but the defense is kind of soft in the middle. The linebackers and the safeties, although they've stepped up. Hello, Landon Collins. I mean, and that's not so soft anymore. And with Jenkins back, the blocking in the run game and the blocking period on the offensive line has gotten a little better. It went from just the worst ever to something you can kind of live with. But the receivers still have a hard time getting into their routes because the offensive line doesn't block well enough. They still don't have much of a running game. That keeps them from being elite, and people are reacting to the win streak. These wins could go either way. They're not elite. They're in the upper tier of the middle pack teams.
It went from 16 to 10. That's a big jump. 10 spots.
I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in thinking about them at
16 to 6.
I'm interested in thinking about them at 6.
Excuse my math.
And I'm just my mentality is that I think the Detroit Lions deserve to be ahead of them. I think the Detroit Lions over the last several weeks, they've got wins over the Eagles, the Redskins, and the Minnesota Vikings. They've come out of nowhere, and I got to give respect where it's due. And considering that they've done it without the services of Megatron, really resonates with me. So I got to look at it from that
struggling against the Bears and barely beating the Bears like the Giants.
How about that? I mean, that definitely.
Giants got wins over the Cowboys and Eagles this year.
I understand that, but the Cowboys is the season opener. That's why I'm looking at it.
Eagle one.
Well, again, it's week to week, Max. You didn't ask me this 8-9 weeks ago. You're asking me now. Okay, if it was 8-9 weeks ago, it would be all right. I'm saying right now, based on what I'm seeing, I would put the Lions ahead of the Giants for now. Now, when I look at the Giants, their offensive line is suspect. Their running game is virtually non-existent. They're second to last. That pass protection that they're failing to provide Eli Manning on several occasions, could you imagine how potent their passing game would be? Even more so if they protected Eli Manning better. And even though their defense looked good, again, it was against the Bears. It was against Jay Cutler. So, again, I'm not saying that the Giants aren't legit. I'm not saying that they can't make some noise. I'm not saying that I don't see improvement. I'm saying it gives me cause to pause when you think about the areas in which they've shown vulnerability, whereas the Lions have surprised the hell out of me. I did not see them coming, and that's why I'm paying attention to right now.
Eric Flowers, the left tackle they drafted in the first round, who I thought was probably the most talented tackle in the draft, and that's a skill position. especially left tackle skill position. Not so many guys step in day one, they're good. It takes a while not only to learn to play the position technically, but then also to gel with your teammates in terms of the chemistry, to understand each other. And Flowers is getting beaten like on almost every play. I guess he's improving a little bit, but I don't think the ship has sailed on him. I think he could be an excellent NFL player eventually. But the key to their season seems to be, to me, how much improvement can he make between now and the end of the season? And you know, if he can become kind of respectable between now and then, because he might be all pro one day, but I'm just talking about right now. If he can make a jump to a respectable left tackle in the next several weeks, which is asking a lot, the Giants can be formidable.
Let's not forget.
The defense is definitely coming along.
Let's not forget the kind of year Matthew Stafford is having.
Yeah.
It's kind of special right now. And considering that he's doing this without Megatron, what he's basically saying is that when that guy was there, I had to go in that direction. Now that Megatron's not there, you don't know where I'm going to go. And it's really opened him up. And he's become more of a leader, not just a player for the Detroit Lions.
I don't think anyone has a three-receiver combination as good as the New York Football Giants.
I was going to say that Sterling Shepard was a money pick.
And then Victor Cruz is your third best receiver, and they're all on the field together. Show me three better than that.
But Detroit, also nice surprise. I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow. That's going to be a good one. We will get into that. Last Thursday, though, Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller visited a Bronx strip club. It's called Sin City, folks. And according to the New York Post, Beckham lost a $25,000 diamond ring. It's a pinky ring, in case you care, while at the club. Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. wrote a letter to Beckham and Miller regarding their selection of venue. Quote, I would love to show both of you gentlemen there is more to the Bronx than establishments such as Sin City, where you risk more than your valuables. If you'd like to see what the Bronx is really like and visit numerous establishments that our residents are actually proud of, I hope you will take me up on this offer. Steve Knight, your reaction to Diaz's comments on Von and Odell Beckham?
Well, first of all, I think the politician was grandstanding. I mean, you know, with his holier than thou self. First of all, last time I checked, the strip club is a legal operation, is it not? I do believe they pay their bills. I do believe that there are taxes that the borough of the Bronx benefits from in that regard. If you have a problem with it, get rid of the establishment. It's there for a reason.
He's trying to take their liquor license.
Listen, he's trying to take their liquor license. Well, you know what? Good luck with that. But the bottom line is this. There's a lot of things that you could get into, okay, that are not that great. Now, I'm not sitting here, of course, I'm not sitting here advocating that folks go to a strip club, but I'm not.
Gentleman's club is the proper term.
Oh, come on, it's a strip club.
Gentlemen clubs, okay? Gentlemen clubs.
Don't try to class it up. Both of you, don't even try it.
Excuse me, that's what it is, Molly. That's what it is.
And you enjoy the exotic dancing. Yeah, I get it.
I have
performers, Molly.
I have no idea.
Performers.
I have no performance. Very, very good. Very, very good performance. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that, look,
my job.
I mean, it's a legal establishment.
Yeah.
They pay their taxes, okay? It's clearly a thriving business since it's all over the place, all over America and beyond. And these are things that happen. And so for him to pick this as a particular issue that he speaks out about, excuse me, listen, I got relatives in the Bronx, Webster Avenue and beyond, okay? The bottom line is this. There are a lot of issues in the Bronx. As great of a borough as it is, there are a lot of issues there. There are a lot of issues that Mr. Ruben Diaz could have spoken on. Other than this, I thought it was grandstanding. I thought it was inappropriate. I thought it was unnecessary. All right. But obviously he achieved some degree of success for it because we're talking about it. It made news, and that was probably his objective.
Now, I know I'm supposed to now say something,
yeah.
But almost verbatim, of course, I would do it in a much more concise way, and I would do it more quickly and, you know, I don't need 7 minutes to say that. However,
it was more like 3, but
however, I co-sign. I mean, it's a legal business, ostensibly profitable. The Bronx Borough President may not like it, but he's using it as to politically grandstand, and it is unbecoming. If he wants Odell Beckham to show up, he should privately call them and say...
I would like to say this.
The botanical gardens are beautiful in the Bronx. Have you ever been to the botanical gardens?
I want to say one more thing.
I've also been to the zoo there, too, the Bronx Zoo.
See, there's a lot to do.
Both my parents are from the Bronx. I was born in the Bronx, and I spent more time in Yankee Stadium growing up than my living room.
I was born in the Bronx, raised in Queens.
But all right, you know, so they happen to have an establishment he likes to frequent there.
I got it.
President wants to talk about.
What do you want to tell me?
I don't know if you know this.
What do you want to tell me about the entertainment?
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I was on The View years ago.
Really?
I co-hosted The View.
Oh, Lord.
And I had the pleasure of meeting the lovely Jennifer Love Hewitt. Okay. She came on the show, and it was
I loved her and Scream.
It was a preview. It was a preview of I don't know. I forgot whether it was the movie or the show, but she was playing a stripper.
Okay.
And I thought that, she made a very, very valid point, pointing out how hardworking some of these people are. So let's show them the respect that they deserve.
Listen, it's a great workout.
I don't think he did that. And listen, Jennifer Love Hewitt would confirm for you.
Exactly.
These are, we should be sensitive.
I don't know if you could hold yourself up on that pole. I mean, that takes work. That takes upper body strength.
When you are transparently politically grandstanding like that, it rubs people the wrong way.
That's right. And that's what he was doing. And I thought that he victimized those people by saying,
by the way, let me ask you something. How do you lose your ring? How do you lose your ring?
I don't understand that.
Because they said he was dancing a lot.
I don't know.
And then they mentioned that he studied human movement at LSU, so he was just practicing the human movement, dancing a little.
Right.
Thanks to being drafted #1 and #2 overall in the 2015 NFL Draft, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota will forever be compared to each other. Our ESPN insiders asked 5 NFL front office executives about which quarterback they'd want on their team right now and for the next 10 years. Quote, "I'll take Mariota over Winston by a mile. He takes care of the ball better than Jameis. He has a great command of the passing offense. Sometimes Jameis will make that horrendous throw that'll cost you, and then you watch Marcus run. He has a great sense of when to do it." I'll be for Jameis in this debate. I think Marcus has more around him. He has a better offensive line. They've built a great running game around him. I can argue the Titans are slightly better than the Bucs for weapons. With Vincent Jackson out for the season, what do the Bucs have other than Mike Evans? So the final tally was 3 voted for Mariota and 2 took Winston. Stephen A., who would you rather have as your franchise quarterback?
Jameis Winston all day, every day.
Famous Jameis?
And I respect the hell out of Marcus Mariota. I remember he was coming out of Oregon. Max, I was in Pasadena for that national championship game when Oregon destroyed Florida State. I was so disgusted at Florida State that day. It took me about 2 years to forgive them for looking like the garbage that they looked like, or at least a year, by the way. But here's the thing about Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston is a winner. I think that in different ways, their talents are somewhat comparative. Marcus Mariota is a little bit more accurate. He definitely, there's a minimal amount of turnovers compared to Jameis. But I do think he has a better running game. I do think that the overall Tennessee Titans are a better defense. I do think they have a better offensive line. And I think he has more to work with than Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is the kind of person that ain't going to go down without swinging. If he's falling, he's going to swing. Mariota's the kind of person that will sit there and kneel and come back to fight another day. Jameis Winston is going to fight to the finish, and he will go down swinging. That's not to knock Marcus Mariota by any stretch of the imagination. He's a worthy #2 pick. He's a talented guy, talented quarterback. But I think that they're relatively even in different ways, talent-wise. But where, to me, Jameis Winston is head and shoulders above Mariota is that Jameis Winston, to me, has that it factor that enables him to galvanize the troops around him for them to go all out and go out there and maximize the potential around him. And I think the records are indicative of that. Jameis Winston and Tampa are 5-5. Tennessee is 5-6. I think Tennessee is a better team than Tampa. The difference is that Jameis somehow wills it. And by the way, when you look at the turnovers, yes, Jameis Winston struggled a little bit. In the last 6 games, all of these turnovers, he's got 10 interceptions. In the last 6 games, he's thrown 2. This is what he does. He starts off rough, and then as the season wanes, he gets it together. I'm a Jameis Winston guy.
It's the big win over the Chiefs.
They're both going to be excellent NFL quarterbacks throughout the duration of their careers, and I expect them both to have productive careers. I don't think this is an obvious pick, but my vote will go to Marcus Mariota. Here's the real difference between them. Mariota's a better passer, and Mariota's a better runner. Like, he's better with his arm and better with his legs. Winston has a bigger, stronger arm, and Winston has a star quality that you mentioned about him. But I think most of the reason people tend to prefer Winston when they do, and I'd say it's about split 50-50 at this point, though to start the year, Winston had the wind at his back. There seemed to be momentum about his play. I think Winston is branded better than Mariota. First of all, he won the Heisman Trophy. He won a national title. he was the #1 overall pick. And in addition to all that, he has a Roethlisberger thing about him. Remember when Roethlisberger went 10th, when Eli went 1 and Phillip Rivers went 4, Roethlisberger went 10? There were plenty of people back then even saying there's something about Roethlisberger that looks the part to me. He just, they turned out to be right. Roethlisberger is a star quarterback. So Winston also has that going for him. Big, strong guy with a big arm. Central casting for what you're thinking about as a winning quarterback. But when I actually look at what they do, in terms of what they do on the field, I prefer my quarterback to play like Mariota. I find him to be a more accurate passer and better with his legs.
Well,
I mean, how much? And he reads defenses at least as well.
In fairness to your point, I'm not refuting your point because you're wrong in this particular instance. I just think it's incomplete from this perspective. When I look at Jameis Winston, I ask myself, if he were in a situation like Marcus Mariota, what would he do? If Marcus Mariota was in a situation like Jameis Winston, what would he do? I think that Jameis Winston is playing for an inferior team compared to Tennessee. I look at Jameis Winston as the kind of person that adapts to the talent around him. If he has to do more, he will try to do more. If he needs to do less, he will do less. I don't look at him as a guy that just has a stronger arm. I look at him as a guy capable of making exactly the plays with his arm that Marcus Mariota makes. Without question, Marcus Mariota has more of a motor. He's got better wheels on him. There's no disputing that. But in terms of his arm, it's not just his strength, but his accuracy and all of that stuff. I think could very well be exactly what Marcus Mariota is if he had the talent around him and was asked to do it.
I don't know. I mean, I like Delaney Walker a lot, but as my primary target, I would take Mike Evans as my primary target over Delaney Walker.
You got Evans, but he's got Matthews, he's got Walker, he's got this kid Sharp, he's got DeMarco Murray coming out of the backfield that was running the football effectively. He's got a requisite number of weapons where he, along with Tennessee's defense being better, because Tampa Bay's ranked 25th against the pass.
Look over their careers and say who's played on a better team. I think Winston's played on a better team over his career so far, their young careers, than Mariota has. I agree it's debatable. I think part of the casting issue comes down to also who's their nearest comp. Like if I bring up Roethlisberger and Winston, people know what I mean. They're mobile, but not exactly fast. They're big, they're strong, they have big arms, they have these leadership qualities. What's Mariota's closest comp? It's not a guy who would inspire you as much. Is it an Alex Smith with a better arm? Like, what is that exactly?
Well, let me throw it to you this way. Marcus Mariota's in the AFC South. Jameis Winston's in the NFC South. Marcus Mariota's got Indianapolis and Houston and Jacksonville. Jameis Winston's got New Orleans and Carolina and Atlanta. Let's keep that in mind.
Winston, tougher
None of those teams sound so great right now.
I think the NFC South is far more valuable than the AFC South.
That's not what the record says at the moment.
Who cares? Because they're playing each other.
It's a better division.
Yeah.
But Winston, tougher test this weekend. He gets Seattle's defense. Meanwhile,
NFC South is marginally
the
better than the
Titans
AFC
gets
South?
the Bears.
In what world?
Yeah, because everyone thought of the Panthers as this great team. It turns out they're not this great team. NFC South turned out to be a little overrated heading into the year. Let's be honest. I'm sorry.
They're still solid.